Good evening, people. Price of Bitcoin is 104,427. And we have finally tagged this 50% zone that I've been waiting for. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've been calling for this level at 100k. We finally hit it. So question is, do we reverse here or do we continue lower? So we'll look at that today. And hopefully we get a few people join us. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments. If you've got any altcoins you want me to analyze, pop them in the comments too. I tend to just look at the total chart and then trade altcoins that are in confluence with it, but I'm happy to check out any other altcoins. I also got a new adapter for my mic because I had some sound issues last time. Hopefully that's all resolved. But again, thanks for letting me know in the comments last time that the sound was funny. Please let me know that everything's a-okay. And we'll get into the price of Bitcoin. So we understand the structure that we're in so far, if you've been following me, in a clear uptrend on the weekly. And we've just made a bearish market structure shift on the daily. And at the time it was just a wick, but we did actually close below that, which at this point here indicated that the reversal was going to just be a retracement for making new lows. So this was a great short trade here. Now my first target was this 50% zone at almost exactly 100,000. That's just a coincidence. It's a nice psychological level, but turns out that's exactly at the 50% level of this leg that made a new all-time high. So what do I usually do on the lower time frame if a structure like this plays out? Usually 50% pullback is enough to set a new low and has the potential to make a market structure shift and then continue higher. I'm not sure that's going to be the case this time, but we'll have to see how it plays out. But until then, we just trade the structure as we see it. So after making this new low here, tagging the 50%, we can see very clearly what our new trend is. A low, a high, a lower high, and a lower low. So we trade the trend until the end. It is riskier now that we have pulled back 50% to continue shorting, riskier than this trade here. But there are things we can do to counteract that risk, which I'll go through today. And so yeah, as I mentioned on my X, if you don't follow my X, do follow my X, because I post live updates on my trades and what I'm thinking of the market. I did mention that on the 15-minute time frame, if we produce a bullish market structure shift, I'll be going long. Yesterday that sat at this level here, and so I did mention that if we close a 15-minute candle above this high, that I would be going long, because that would indicate that this small trend here is reversing. And so what I would like to see now is an uptrend begin. And I'll talk about the targets of this trend in a minute. This has been a nice one-to-one trade, taken a few profits, but I'm holding some for a very good reason. But that is the trade that I gave you last night on X. And if you're mainly a scalper, you'd have taken profits on this already. So that was a nice trade. So the targets for this particular long come down to the higher time frame downtrend that we're in, which is this one. The last lower high on the 4 hour is just up here. So we can pull an OB out. Just here. That's a nice target. Not a very conservative one. High risk. A more conservative take profit would be the 50% of the leg down. So this is another good take profit zone. But what I usually like to do is take profits at 1-to-1 and then hold until I see confirmations of a reversal, rather than have actual levels at which I take profit. I let the charts tell me whether to close or whether to hold. Currently I'm holding this after taking some profits. I'm holding the rest. The reason for that is, now that we have pulled back 50%, there's a small possibility that we go on to make new highs. I'll admit that's very low possibility, but as we have pulled back 50% from this leg, smart money will have accumulated on that dip. 100%. So I'm going to hold out the rest of this long, and I'm going to start taking shorts when this uptrend retraces to at least the 50%, possibly to the bearish OB, but as soon as it shows a bearish market structure shift like this, I'll take some short positions. This will hedge against the long, and if we do take a new low, I can scale out of my long that I've already taken profits from, and I can make money from the dip down. This also means that if we just push straight up here, I'm good because I'm long. I also won't go short because there's been no confirmation. But what can very rarely happen is you have confirmation of a reversal and then you continue higher. This is just a manipulated wick or a market structure shift, just to take people out of the market before we make new all-time highs. If that does happen, I'll be safe in my longs. I'll be stopped out of my shorts though, but I'll be covered in both instances. So that's the plan. We had a nice 15-minute bullish market structure shift last night, and we're long. Have taken some profits. We have our criteria for going short next in the market because we know that we're in a downtrend. So we're waiting for a market structure shift in the 50% region, and we'll short to new lows. This will be the next short position. If the market allows us with a bearish 15-minute or an hourly market structure shift. But until then we're long with the 15-minute. Hopefully that makes sense. But it's a pivotal moment in the market right now. Every time Bitcoin pulls back 50% of a leg, very pivotal move. But it is very likely that this trend is going to continue deeper and allow us for a much clearer 4-hour market structure shift before we head higher. Then this could come all the way down to, I mean, this could come all the way down to the 75,000 low. I do think we have CME gap somewhere. Right, so there's a CME gap at just above 90k. That's a very reasonable place to assume that we'd reverse. Absolutely great position this would be if we show a 4-hour or an hourly market structure shift at around 90k. That would be a really good sign for me. But until we produce some sort of bullish market structure shift, I can't go long on the higher time frame. Obviously we can scalp long like we are now, but on our higher time frame bias will remain bearish as long as we're in this structure. So we can come as high as this right now and still remain bearish. Total, really nice structure at the minute. It's very clear market structure shift, beautiful retracement to the bearish OB, and then go on to make new lows. And again, the total hit the 50% level really well. So that's nice for us. But similarly to Bitcoin, the high to break is all the way up here. So I do expect, similarly to Bitcoin, I expect altcoins to continue bleeding out a little bit. God knows how long that could take us. That could take us into December. We could easily have just downward momentum chop until next year. Q1 next year. It's an upsetting time horizon for some people, but it is the reality right now. We have entered a pretty big downtrend on the daily chart. Luckily I've scaled out of a lot of my spot position altcoins, especially when I saw this market structure shift here and then retraced. But like everybody, most people, my portfolio, what's left of it is bleeding out. That's all right. There's a few things I'm holding that I don't plan to sell, so it doesn't bother me how low they go. I'll just accumulate more. These are my high conviction bets, but I'm mostly out of all my very high risk, especially all of the memes and very low cap altcoins. But there are at least half a dozen alts that I hold right now that I have high conviction in, that are still in an uptrend, and I will accumulate more and only sell if it's clear that we're breaking the higher time frame uptrend. I'm hoping that the sound was fine. We haven't had anybody live. But there's still a bit of time. The Dixie is coming into a nice 4-hour bearish OB. Problem is we have already tagged this level, created new low, but we are leaving liquidity behind. Clear 3 touch. It's possible we have some kind of rejection here and then go to take this liquidity. It's also possible that we just dip from here while Bitcoin has a leg up, and then once we've taken liquidity we move higher. But this totally makes sense to me that the Dixie is looking like it wants to reverse the downtrend, and we've been looking at this actually since July. I was warning you guys on my X that the Dixie was starting to show signs of bullish momentum. So again, it'll be very valuable for you to follow my X. We'll play the Dixie how it is, but I think we get a bit of a dip before we move higher because we're leaving some liquidity behind, and Bitcoin is on the 15-minute especially flipping bullish. I think we might enter a small uptrend here. Yeah, we'll see. Some nice bullish momentum coming in. XRP, there's a clear level to break. I did mention on my X that I longed Binance. There was a nice 15-minute market structure shift last night. This had a nice close where a lot of alts didn't. Last night this had a candle close 15-minute bullish market structure shift, which was one of only a couple of alts last night, hence why I took the trade. It's actually not doing as well as Bitcoin so far. Bitcoin I've already taken profits on the long, but Binance is lagging behind ever so slightly. But we had a nice 15-minute break, so I'm going to hold this one out. In terms of other alts, what I'd like to see, especially to trade alts right now in this type of market, for example with XRP, as long as it's in confluence with the total chart, I'd like to see XRP break this high and close on the 1 hour. This would confirm a 1 hour reversal, and actually this is 11.5% move that's going to break that high, so I wouldn't be comfortable taking longs until we get a 50% retracement. So what would be nice on XRP is if we can take a trade like this, and then hold, take profits 1-to-1 and hold until a trend reversal. That would be the ideal scenario. But we can clearly remain in a downtrend, but be on a low time frame uptrend for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. That's the plan for now. We're long on the 15-minute, and we'll hold out. I've taken profits on my Bitcoin, but we'll hold out until we have a bearish 15-minute market structure shift, at which point I'll be taking some shorts, and hopefully that is within this bearish OB, if not somewhere above the 50% zone, hence my final TP. But we'll go live again tomorrow, and a few times next week, so we'll be keeping up to date with everything, and I'll be letting you guys know what trades I'm taking, whether I'm closing or opening any new ones. But yeah, I expect something like this to occur, which we can long and short. But I mean, what would be beautiful is if we reverse here. That's much less likely. We only had 2 waves to the downside currently, one of which was a massive liquidation wick. It's nearing the end, in my opinion, of this run on the weekly, and usually you don't get a 2-wave pullback. That's a very bullish. It's a very bullish pullback, just a 2-wave. It's much more likely that we're going to get a 3rd wave down, and then fill the CME gap at 90-ish K, 92. And then what would be really nice is if we have, in this downtrend, we have a clear 1-hour market structure shift, and we can take some longs here, some scalps initially that we TP, and then we hold out the rest in hopes that we make a market structure shift on the 4-hour. But yeah, it's a really good thing that we finally pulled back to the 50% zone on Bitcoin. Been waiting for this for a while. As soon as we made this all-time high in Bitcoin, you know, I mean, actually I didn't accumulate any Bitcoin past this level here. We were in take profit mode up here, all the way up. I kept pulling my fib up. If you were following me on X, you know this. And then finally we topped on 6th of October, made a market structure shift, and we've been waiting for 50% since then. So that's really reassuring that that's happened. Of course, it's completely possible that the bull market for Bitcoin is over and this just drops. But that is the indication that we need to tell us that the weekly uptrend on Bitcoin is reversing. We have a lot of time, hopefully, before that happens, and we need to discuss that. I can see we've got somebody live. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments. Hopefully that all makes sense to you. And if you've got any altcoins you want me to look at, stick them in the comments. I'll wait a little minute and I'll head off because I think that's enough of an update for now. That's where my head's at. I'm just holding out these longs, and we're going to wait for a 15-minute bearish market structure shift above 110k, and then we'll look for some shorts. Right, I think I might dip. Have a good rest of your evening. Again, feel free to comment. This is all going to be uploaded, and I'll reply to any comments that you have, any questions that you have. Thank you for joining, whoever that was. Appreciate you. Until then, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.